it's been a long time since I made a video on this channel, and it's because a lot of things have happened and changed. And by the time this video goes up, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen many posts leading to this. And basically what that means is my rebrand is officially started. You might notice that the name on this channel is different, and the description on this channel is a little bit different, but I just wanted to sit down and actually talk about this in a longer form, without, being cut off by limitations of Instagram or TikTok, and just talk to you guys. So I want to kind of go back to the beginning of when all this started and why this rebrand is actually even happening. And to do that, I need to go back to this book here. This is such an important and special book to me in more ways than I can express, but I'll do my best to explain. So if you happen to have read my book, The Widow Sterling, which, by the way, I'm thinking about republishing this book under my new pen name, which is the new name of this channel. I am no longer going to go by KF Goblin. I'm going to be going by KF Thérèse, or if you don't want to say it the French way, KF Thérèse. And that's for many reasons. But this book is the reason this whole journey started. So while I was writing The Widow Sterling, which, by the way, if you haven't read it yet, it is still available. You can still purchase it. You should really give it a read because it's probably my favorite book I've ever written at this point. But while I was writing this book, I was kind of in a stuck in-between place of feeling drawn back to the way I was raised and kind of being stuck in the practice I was living, which was paganism. And I just thought, it was because I was talking to some people who were very much so solid in their faith, and I thought I was just, I was getting confused. But as I was writing this book, I went back and I was editing some chapters I had previously written, and there were full scenes where the main characters kneel down and pray. And I didn't remember writing those scenes. I didn't remember even wanting to put that kind of content in this book. It's a historical Western. It absolutely fits, especially with the time, the theming, all of that. So I left it. And I kept going back and rereading those scenes and just feeling this nagging feeling in my chest. So eventually, after that nagging feeling persisted and I just couldn't shake it, I decided to listen. And what I did was I asked my wonderful mother if she would like to go to midnight mass, because I wrote Widow Sterling was just finishing it up, and it was getting ready for publication for the new year. So I was editing it and it was nagging me, and finally I just because I was raised Catholic, and my mom always would ask me every Christmas, let's go to midnight mass. And for many, many years I told her no. So she eventually just stopped asking me to go. And so this year I asked her, and she was like, yeah, absolutely, let's go. And so we go, and it was powerful, and it struck a chord, and it made me feel a lot of things. And I thought, well, it's Christmas, I'm feeling emotional, I'm missing my dad. It was our second Christmas without my dad because he had passed away. And so I was just like, oh, I'm probably just being emotional. And then I went to Epiphany Mass. And Epiphany Mass is a little while after Christmas. But that morning, my mom was supposed to come with me, and I was thinking, well, she canceled on me, I'm not going to go. And that morning I had a tattoo appointment for this tattoo, which is from the movie Dragonheart, and it says, "Look to the stars." And if you know anything about the story of Epiphany, it's when the 3 pagan wise men see the new star in the sky and follow it to find the Messiah. So that morning I get a "Look to the stars" tattoo. Last minute decide I'm going to go to church by myself for the very first time, and I go. And the homily that was given describing these 3 pagan men following a star through the desert and finding their God messed me up emotionally in ways I cannot describe. My poor priest and deacon had to meet me the first time for real as a gross, crying, sobbing, ugly mess. I'm sorry, Father Christino and Deacon Paul, if you ever happen to see this. But from that moment forward, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I immediately jumped into taking RCIA classes to get my sacraments because I had never gotten them as a child. I jumped headlong into this journey. And I need to preface this by saying all of the books I wrote as KF Goblin will always be precious to me because they taught me how to be an author. They all taught me my author voice. And I will never be ashamed of them, if that makes sense. But the reason that I'm doing this is one, because of my faith. And there's a lot of conviction I have now that I want to move forward with. A lot of things that I want to discipline myself a bit with because of my own personal struggles and my own personal demons that I've been fighting and will probably continue to fight for many, many years, if not the rest of my life. Because I know that I have weaknesses in certain areas, and I was allowing them to be in these books. Now, before I get all the comments, well, not that many people watch these videos, but before I get the comments of, you're shaming this kind of reading, you're shaming this kind of book, which is spicy books, I'm not. I wrote them. How can I sit here and throw stones when I'm in a glass house? It's like the pot calling the kettle black. So I'll never be ashamed of these books because they are what built me up to where I am now. But the largely explicit content that was in my books previously, even this book that I love with my whole heart, and I almost don't want to go in and edit this, but at the same time I kind of do when I republish. We'll see how I feel. That's the whole other thing. But the thing is I do not want to write books that have that much explicit material in them. And I know what you're thinking, but you just released Edelweiss in July, and it was very explicit. The reason that came out is because it had been done and been ready for 2 years, but just kept getting bumped back. And so I thought, this is kind of like the final, I'm finishing off an unfinished story. I'm just putting it out there. And then that is the last hurrah for KF Goblin, because this was intentionally put out in a way to lead into what will be my first book under my new pen name, which I am so excited, and I will talk about at the end of this video. But this was meant to kind of be a warm-up, like a little, guess what's coming? And I'm doing this for myself. I'm not really doing this for other people, because at the end of the day, it's me who has to deal with my maker. And I just know that this is the path that I need to be on. It's me that has to face these things at the end of the day. So am I doing this for anyone else but me? No. And I'm hopeful that people will still want to read my stories, because these kinds of stories are not going anywhere. These deeply emotional, powerful stories that I pride myself in writing, in particular this book, with heavy themes, with big struggles that the characters go through, with all of these deep emotional battles that go on in these stories, facing discrimination, facing abuse, facing all of these things. They are very much so going to be alive and well in my stories. There's still going to be romance books. There's still going to be tension and feelings of, desire and all those things. But it's just not going to be explicitly on the page anymore. I'm going to be transitioning to writing closed-door romance. And some people might be mad about that. But this is my decision as an author, and I'm allowed to make these choices. And I flip-flopped for a long time about either, do I change my pen name? Do I not change my pen name? And at the end of the day, I felt that it was more appropriate and a better choice to change my pen name because of this change that's going to be happening. Because the 7 books that I've published under the name KF Goblin have all been very open door, very explicit. While they still have heavy plots, and I still love all of the stories and all the emotional connections that happen in the books, all this turmoil, all the struggles, and everything that happens with my characters, it's not how I'm going to be writing anymore in regards to the large amount of explicit content in those books. And I feel like it would be a strange, sudden change under the same pen name. So that is why the change is happening. I will always admit that I wrote these books. I'll never pretend I never wrote these books. But a big part of it is moving forward in a way that's meaningful for me. And if what's meaningful for me is leaving that piece of my story writing behind to move forward on my journey and my path, I have to do that. It's something that's always going to be important for me. And I really hope that people will still continue to read my books. They'll still continue to support the stories that I write, because at the end of the day, I feel like the few people who do really hold on to my stories and do talk to me and reach out to me and let me know, like, I even really had someone come up to me this past weekend holding this book at a convention. They purchased this book from me on the Friday. By mid-afternoon Saturday, they said, I don't know what you put in this book, but I couldn't put it down and I'm basically done. They literally had like this much of the book left. And it shocked me. I was shocked. I said, what do you mean? We're at a big convention. There's so much stuff going on. What do you mean you read that much of my book in less than 24 hours? And they just looked at me. They said, I couldn't stop. Rufus and everything he goes through, and Beatrice, and oh my gosh, her backstory and everything that happened to Beatrice, and oh my gosh, Haley, Hawkins, he's such a jerk, he's such a bastard, like, I needed to know what happened. And it touched me in a way that it wasn't the open door smutty scenes in this book, which, you know, all relationships have passion, my husband and I included, and I will never say that passionate moments are bad. It's just something that I don't want to fall back into, because it would then become, okay, how much longer do I have to write until I can put another one in? I found myself doing that at points, and I don't want to be doing that. I want to focus on the story. And this book really was that, because I wrote this book after, like, partially as this was all happening, right? So the other books that I've released since writing this book were written before. I kind of publicize things out of order. But the whole point of it is the person who was so passionate about this book and talking to me and being so excited about the story wasn't excited about the spicy scenes. They were excited about the story, about the struggle, about everything that happens to these characters. And that's what made me realize, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm making these changes. And this is, like, I'm not going to lose that person who was so excited about my books. In fact, I'm sure that they're going to be even more excited to read future content. And so, to summarize all of this, there's a main reason why I'm doing this. And then there's an author reason why I'm doing this. Because I know that I can write books without needing them to have these moments so explicitly written on the page. I can leave some things up to the imagination, but that does not mean that these books are going to not have any passion or any tension or physicality to them. And I don't necessarily think that this change, this adjustment, is going to remove any of the enjoyment of the reading. And I know that this has been like a hot topic issue I've seen it a lot on Threads, I've seen it a lot on Book Talk and on Bookstagram of people saying, oh, well, why are authors suddenly changing? Or why are people asking for closed door books? Like, they're shaming people and what they read. And that's not at all what I'm doing this for. I'm very selfishly doing this for me, for many reasons. But it's also, it's not a matter of anybody else. The reason I'm doing these things has nothing to do with shaming another person or belittling another person for what they read. It's 100% to do with me and who I want to be as an author and where I'm going in my life personally. I'm also about to be, attempting to become a mother. And the thought did cross my mind. Am I going to be sitting here writing a book, writing graphic content with my child next to me? And again, that's a personal choice for me to think about. That's a personal concern of mine. Does that mean that anyone else who does that has less value? Absolutely not. These choices are for me personally. And it's not a matter of putting judgment upon anyone else but myself. This change has nothing to do with my opinions of other people. I will still be friends with the splatterpunk authors that I've gotten to know over social media. I will still be friends with the people who write open door, very steamy books. I will still be friends and support all of those people because this isn't about them and it's not about other people. It's about me and my journey and my path, and specifically my path in faith. And I will never pass judgment upon another person because they're not walking my path. They're walking their own path, and that's up to them. And who am I to pass that judgment? Because at the end of the day, none of us have the right to pass that judgment except for on ourselves. We hold ourselves to our own standards. And so I just really am hopeful, and I feel a sense of excitement moving into this new phase of who I am as an author. And I really hope that you all will stick around and support me on this journey and get to know the kind of next phase of who I will be as an author, because frankly, I'm really excited. So my next book that is coming out, I guess it's my first book under this new name of KF Thérèse, is called Miss Tilly Ray. And I cannot wait for all of you to read it. I am so excited for this book to drop. It is coming mid-September, and the joy that I feel right now anticipating this story. So a little bit about Miss Tilly Ray. It is a Lady and the Tramp retelling, which is so exciting for me. Or it's inspired, I suppose, by Lady and the Tramp. My favorite movie of all time is Lady and the Tramp. I wear a backpack covered in Lady and the Tramp pins. The story just fills my heart with joy because frankly, I've had a lot of people compare my husband and I to Lady and the Tramp in some ways, obviously not in every single way, but I've had the comparison drawn a few times and that makes my heart so full. But it's really a wonderful story about self-improvement on the main male character's side. And it's not because of the main female character pressuring him. It's more so an internal pressure he feels. He feels a desire to improve himself because he is known as the local womanizer and he doesn't want to be that anymore after meeting her. There's an amazing sense of found family, of almost familial adoption. There's a wonderful younger character in the story that really does wrap up this story with a little bow. Very much so like with Widow Sterling, where there are the two children in the story who I've heard a lot of very positive feedback about that. A lot of people really loved the two children in Widow Sterling. And so I'm really excited for everyone to get to know little Jackson in Miss Tilly Ray because he is really so cute. It's just a really good, feel-good, really passionate romance story between these two people from very different walks of life with surprisingly similar trauma, and they just managed to make it work. And there's elements of faith in the book that are very, very important for both of them, and really a turning point for the main male character. And I could gush and go on and on and on, but I'm really excited for this book to come out and it to be my first book as KF Thérèse. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think I might want to go in and edit the story just a little bit. Not to take away anything, not to add anything, but maybe to adjust some of the spicy scenes in the book. Not that I recall, I don't believe there are that many in this book, but it's still something that I want to chew on for a little while. But anyway, this video has gotten very long in the tooth, and I'm going to end it here, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to anyone who has stuck around to watch and listen to everything that I've had to say, and know that I truly appreciate every single one of you, and that if you are going to follow along on this journey and be a part of this, I really, really am so very grateful that you're going to continue to give me chances and potentially read some more of my stories, and know that I hope that God blesses you in every sense of the way, and that you have the most wonderful and blessed day. I hope that I'll see you in the next video, and that is all from me for now. Bye, you guys.